So let's try this one here. Let's see if we can get this chat going. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. Sometimes you start a new one and it can kind of pick up, but we'll try again. So if you're watching this one, guys, this is, I guess, part 2 of the live streams today for January 8th, 2023. So if you're seeing this, guys, and you're joining it, please let me know in the chat right now. Post some things on there. There we go. Now I see Rob on there. I don't know what was going on with that. Yeah, I can see the chat now. Like I said, I don't know what YouTube was doing. That did it. That fixed it on there too. So there we go. So I see Rob and I see Hard Nixie on there. So, but Jonathan and everyone there too. There you see. There we go. There we go. Thank you guys for joining me on there nonetheless. I don't know technical difficulties, but all you can do is roll with it. Jonathan Wilder, my WWE guy. Q&A, did you hear the sad news? Vince McMahon is back in WWE, but only for sale. May God help us all wrestling fans. So, yeah, I saw something about that, and I saw something that he's coming back in a way this, and then JP Morgan's going to sell the WWE. I don't know who's going to buy it or what's going to happen with all that stuff. And, yeah, again, I don't really care too much about WWE right now because it's one of those things where I'll watch a couple things. Like I'll watch WrestleMania typically. I'll watch maybe some Royal Rumble and stuff on that. But other than that, I watched the other day, John, you weren't here last Friday of the year. Last year was the Friday Night SmackDown was here in Tampa. I didn't go to it. I watched it on TV, but I watched a little bit of the match with Kevin Owens, John Cena, Sami Zayn, and Roman Reigns, and I watched a little bit of that, and it was kind of cool. But again, I don't really care too much as that. David says, hello, how are you? The Last of Us next week. So yeah, exactly, guys. So I was talking about this last live stream before I couldn't see the chat, but I'm glad to be seeing you guys. Next week, January 15th, is the first episode of The Last of Us on HBO. I'm going to be talking about that, probably the rest of the live streams for the episodes of The Last of Us. So definitely want to stay by watching that stuff. I definitely am excited to talk about that. And, I was afraid to talk about The Last of Us because I don't know what people know with this. But if you watch the trailers, and there was a little sneak peek of behind the scenes stuff, they talk about Joel and Ellie, and they talk about Ellie and her whole spiel from the video game. So they kind of spoil it a little bit. And if you know the video games, you know what Joel and Ellie and their mission's about, and they're working together, but they kind of, it's a tumultuous thing, and, Ellie's basically the cure, and that the government or this military group is trying to work on them to save humanity, and that's what they kind of do the first game. Is Joel and Ellie go on this mission to go find this place, and it's a whole thing. But it's interesting for sure. Ethan, hey, I heard that AMC have canceled multiple shows these days. Are you afraid they're canceling something? I'm not afraid of anything, Ethan. I don't care. Like, if they're going to cancel it, they're going to cancel it. Like, I'm not going to worry about I never worried about The Walking Dead. I was never afraid or worried, like, oh, what if they cancel The Walking Dead? Great. If they're going to do that, they're going to do that. But The Walking Dead, I don't think The Walking Dead anything has been canceled by AMC. I think it was like other shows and other stuff and all like that too. So without the Walking Dead universe, do people even care about AMC anymore? I don't know. I don't really think so. Because it's one of those things where what else is there to watch on AMC? They had Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and Mad Men and Walking Dead, and now they have all these spinoffs and stuff there too. But, I mean, what can you do? Life goes on. There's going to be other shows and stuff to talk about it too. Like I talked about Tulsa King a little bit. That's a good show. Now, I saw somewhere, I don't know if the code still works, but if you put in for Paramount Plus, there was a free trial. I don't know how long the trial was, and I don't know if it still works. But it was 1923, I believe, was the code for a free trial of Paramount Plus. So if you get that code and it works, you can watch all of Tulsa King, all 9 episodes. You can watch the first season of Mayor of Kingstown that comes back next Sunday with Jeremy Renner. You can watch 1883. You can watch different shows on there too. And Paramount Plus has some good stuff on there. Definitely want to check it out. Carol says, hey, Brian, The Island arrives today. Awesome. The Island is my latest book. That is book 17 of the book series, my Fight For Us book series. The Island is one of my favorite books. A lot of it is coming together. A lot of it is coming from In 100 Days, the prequel story of Fight for Us, and then all the other books of Fight for Us, obviously. But The Island is book 17, and definitely want to check it out, Kara. I saw your messages on Patreon about some character stuff on there too for the book series, and I have it on there. Once I get that all together, I'm going to start writing it. Probably this month or whatever, I'll start writing the initial draft of it. I got to get the stuff together, but some really good information about the characters there too, so thank you. Have you watched The Haunting of Bly Manor, and do you find horror genre interesting? I have not watched The Haunting of Bly Manor. Some horror stuff I don't mind watching. I don't mind, I'm not a horror fan. I don't watch it specifically and watch horror stuff. I want to watch The Menu. Was it Rob K who talked about The Menu? That's on HBO. It just came on I guess a couple days ago, and I'm gonna check that out. I heard mixed reports about it, but I'm gonna watch that. Like the the movie Megan about the robot. It just looks comical. I just think it's one of those things where I'm nah, I don't really thinking if I want to laugh on that too. It's funny. Hard Nixie says, "Hey, Bri, you already talked football a little bit, but did you enjoy the snow globe?" What do you mean the snow globe? I don't know what you mean, Hard Nixie, snow globe. But the football I'm excited about this year and this playoff season. Cowboys are in it, of course, and my wife's team is the Giants, so I'll have to see what happens there. But we'll see. Maybe the Cowboys lose first round, but we'll see. John, do you think when The Last of Us Part 3 will be added to The Last of Us series once the game comes out? I don't know when Part 3 is coming out. They have more than enough for the first 2 video games to worry about that. But I'm not in any thought process of The Last of Us has more than enough to be done from the first 2 games. That should be a couple seasons for sure. So we'll see if it gets added to it, good, but we have to actually play it too. So I'm actually really excited. I'm playing God of War Ragnarok on my PS4 now. I've been playing that every day, and it's awesome. God of War series is great, and I really hope that TV show, when they ever make that on Amazon, I believe is the word, is done in a way. I never watched the Lord of the Rings stuff. I watched the movies, the things with Frodo and stuff like that, but then I stopped watching it. But the Lord of the Rings series, I have no interest in watching that on Amazon, and I'm not going to watch that. But hopefully God of War, if that's on Amazon or whatever, is amazing, and I hope that is all done in a way that goes from all of the games and all the stuff there in a way that is just rewarding for many years, because that'll be many seasons of a show if they do it right, for sure. Rob Key says The Menu is really good. He says The Menu was my 3rd favorite movie of 2022. Pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know, Rob, who's going to play Kratos. There's been mixed reports of stuff. I don't know, but that's a huge casting. That's you got to get that right. You got to get the writing done right, and you have to do it in a way that's just awesome, because the video games are awesome. And same thing with The Last of Us. The Last of Us will be something that I'm excited to see, what's going to happen with that. Constipated in Sin City, how we doing? You can now get Shudder on YouTube now, $6 per month. Yeah, there's definitely tons of options now. I don't have cable anymore. I just do streaming stuff. Excuse me, which makes it easy to have certain stuff, but then it's tough to watch certain, live stuff. But we'll have to see how it goes down. Diana says, Bri, which book series is the first one that you've written? So my original thing was I wrote a couple physical therapy books for different stuff, but I started writing the zombie story of Fight for Us. So Fight for Us was the initial series that was going to be, so many books. And then I was like, I want to have another aspect of the story of Fight for Us, and I want to do it in an area that talks about the first 100 days. Yeah, Tim, it's working now. I see your stuff on there too. Sorry about what YouTube was doing there for the 10 minutes. I couldn't see any of the chat, which kind of sucks. But yeah, so I wrote Fight for Us, and then in 100 days in 100 days is only 3 books. It goes from day 1 to day 100, and then that's the story of that. but some characters from In 100 Days are still alive and can come over from this and that and over here and connect on there as well. Kind of like when I think about it, like The Walking Dead is the story, or you have the main story, and then you have the initial story, which is Fear the Walking Dead. And it was done in a way that was just like not rewarding at all. There was no carryover initially in the first 3 seasons, and then season 4 was like, we got to bring someone over because we're going to have a reboot of it. Which, I don't mind the reboot, but stuff was really forced upon us with stuff there, and then people were written off, and then there's so many characters left, and so the question I have is, when are we going to get anything about Fear the Walking Dead? Right? I would assume that filming has to be done and ready to roll. I haven't heard anything about filming for months now, and I don't know anything to do with that franchise anymore. Besides, they're going to have season 8, and I don't know where else it's going. Constipated Sin City asks, who is your favorite Dallas Cowboy player of all time? Mine is Roger Staubach, and my cousin's is Tony Dorsett. Both great choices. That's a tough one because I am a 90s fan of the Cowboys. It's tough because the triplets are the triplets. It's Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin. It's tough to not root for any of those guys. My favorite ones are there too. I love Emmitt Smith. I love Troy Aikman. Michael Irvin's crazy, but he was a great wide receiver. I can't say Emmitt or Troy, but it's between one of those two for sure. So Diana, I would start with Fight for Us: The Beginning. So the first book is this book. I might have spelled that wrong, but I was just typing it fast. But so Fight for Us: The Beginning is how you want to go and start that. And you want to read, Constipated Sin City's Tony Dorsett is my cousin. Well, if it's the Tony Dorsett, the running back from the Cowboys, that's pretty awesome. So that's pretty awesome to be related to a legend of Tony Dorsett. Hopefully he's doing well, and that's pretty amazing. So yeah, Diana, I would start with The Beginning, and you can check out the in the description of the live stream and also all my books or of my videos. It goes in order of The Beginning, and just go from there from what it is. But I would start with Fight for Us first, and then I don't know. I don't know when you should start writing In 100 Days, but I would probably read a decent amount of the books first, like halfway of the books. Read probably 10 books of Fight for Us, and then start In 100 Days. Probably start from that angle of it, because the In 100 Days is different characters than Fight for Us, but it connects, and there's story, and there's stuff that's rewarding between it, and you want to have a good baseline of that. So it's like, if I was to recommend the Walking Dead universe, I wouldn't start with Fear the Walking Dead. I would start with The Walking Dead, and then Fear the Walking Dead, and then World Beyond. So I would kind of do it in a way that it premiered, and the way it was production and produced to us. So I would do the same thing with my book series. Adam asks, do you think Fear will premiere in February? I think so, because I know the Walking Dead universe was always February, October, or October, February. And I would think they want to continue that, but there's no word on Fear the Walking Dead. We haven't seen a trailer. We haven't seen any stills besides the one picture that I've seen with Morgan and this girl in a graveyard with, the crosses on graves. But other than that, we haven't seen anything or heard anything from it. The only thing we do know is that Dead City is going to premiere in April, and the Rick and Michonne show is going to premiere after Halloween, so most likely sometime at Thanksgiving or November, right before that. And Daryl's show would probably be summer, and then Fear the Walking Dead is still to be determined. I just don't know. I mean, as it's February 8th, as I make this live stream, we haven't heard anything about Fear the Walking Dead, and I don't know. Yeah, Rob says, I think fear is now the lowest Walking Dead universe priority. That's cool. I agree, Rob. I don't think Fear of the Walking Dead has ever been like a huge priority of it. It was like, we can have some story here. We'll see where it goes. But I would love for Fear of the Walking Dead to have time jumps and to have people from The Walking Dead come into that story. It would really help out. Madara, can you read my previous question? Let's see, where you at, Madara? Do you watch anime, or would you ever like to make a video on anime topics? Because many people like the phenomenon. Sorry, Madara, I don't watch anime at all. I don't really have any desire for that stuff because it's probably so encompassing. It's probably so crazy to watch. I'm always going to go into the Dragon Ball Z world or whatever on there too. It'd be just so crazy to get caught up on that. And it's its own beast. And I know people love it, and there's a huge following of it, but it's just not for me. Let me see. Constipated in Sin City. Have you ever read the Celestine Prophecies yet? It's a great, insightful book. I have not. I have not read a book in a long time, and I got to get back into that. I actually want to get back and read a couple old previous books that I've actually read since college. But anything else, if you guys recommend anything, please let me know. I'm always open for it. That's for sure. Rob K says, I've been meaning to start Cowboy Bebop for 2 years. I'm slacking. Yeah, I haven't really. It's just there's so much stuff to be a part of in there too. Like, hopefully, I should be getting my screen fixed and stuff this week, and then I got to go to the doctors, and I got to go do a couple of things this week, and hopefully, we're gonna get busier with work, and then I got to start my book series and everything. So it's like getting there as well. But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff to get caught up on. Jonathan Wilder, what do you think the Walking Dead end goal is? I don't even know anymore. Like my end goal thing for the Walking Dead universe was everybody comes together to fight the CRM. So if CRM is going to be the main bad guy, that's a great way to end the story with Commonwealth, Walking Dead, World Beyond, Fear the Walking Dead, and CRM. That's like that battle, that sequence of it too. But, I don't know if it's like I said, there's only so many things you can look at in the zombie apocalypse story, right? So the stories are everyone's infected, people die, people survive, they find an island. I'm just trying to think of like the video games, like Resident Evil and stuff. Like you start off with a bunch of people. You're going to lose people. You're going to have people stick around to the end. You might start off with like 10 people. And then you lose half of them. Someone betrays the group. Someone the cure? Someone not the cure? Does the military show up? Do they find a sanctuary? Do they actually leave the area? Do they leave the city? Do they leave the mansion? Do they leave wherever they're at? Do they get away? Do they get to the island, right? It just is a fun thing to think about where it's going to go, but I don't really have that much faith in the Walking Dead universe where it's going to end, because the Walking Dead comic, I remember like reading it and staying up on the issues and this, and they get to the Commonwealth and they do this, and the whole thing with the Miltons, and then Dwight was going to take over and we're going to do this, and then Rick stopped him, and then Rick was shot by Sebastian, and then you're like, oh, okay, where's it going to go? And then it lasted like 2 more issues. It was like, okay, Rick, that really it couldn't really go that much further without Rick. And it didn't. Could Carl have carried the story? For sure. Could it been still going on? For sure. But they ended it in a way that makes sense. But the endings are always tough, no matter what they do. Is the military going to show up? Is the government going to show up? Do they find a cure? Do they not find a cure? Is there some sort of end game that is the bigger group besides our group that does that? Because Robert Kirkman, I believe he said in an interview that he came up with The Walking Dead because he wanted to have the story, the zombie apocalypse story that never ended. And everything has to end, but he wanted to have a long story because every time you watch the movies or you do this or you do that, now what? Like, when you think about it, what happens when all these other people get to the island? Then what happens? Are there walkers on the island? Are there zombies on the island? Does our group get away? How do they survive? Do they build shelter? Do they have food? Do they have people that are there to help them? Are people, do they have to go to another island? Do they survive? Do they not? And that's a good question to have, especially like say like you watch Sopranos or whatever, or Breaking Bad. You get invested in these characters, right? You want to see what happens to Tony Soprano or Walter White or whoever. And story after story after season after season after this, after that, you really get to like characters. Just characters you like, you love, you hate, everything. And you kind of get into this world. The world is developed for you. You buy into it. You're excited to see where it goes. And then if it's not done in a way that's satisfying or there's no conclusion, you're like, I guess that's it. Like the Walking Dead main show could have ended with that. Like the main Walking Dead story could have been done. They're at the Commonwealth. People are running things at the Commonwealth. They took over control of that. Daryl was out and about checking the area. Negan left. Maggie's running Hilltop. They got Alexandria back. And that's it. That's the story. But we have the Daryl show in France for some reason. Maggie and Negan in New York for some reason. The Rick and Michonne story fits in the timeline that fits inside the Walking Dead main story. Unless it starts when Rick went away, and then there's a time jump, and then it's here, and then it's a time jump, and it's there, and you can play with time a little bit more. But so much years have passed when Rick went away in Season 9, Episode 5, and then when Michonne went away in Season 10, Episode 13. So there's a lot of time in between stuff. And so, like I was saying last live stream when I had to restart it, so I did the live stream last Sunday, and then I was like, I saw this picture of Denai Guerrera, Scott Gimple, and Andrew Lincoln. And I was like, whoa, look at these two guys together. Pre-production and swing. Yeah. And they looked like they're in some sporting arena, if it's the hockey arena or training facility or indoors. It's hard to see what actually it is. But you see the chairs and the seats, and they look like they're in like a box, like a suite. And then I saw all their pictures. And they're from Denai Guerrera. She posted them on Instagram and Facebook. And she says that, pre-production is in full swing and blah, blah, blah. And then you see different things about, is it going to be in New Jersey, or is it going to be in Georgia? Is it going to be in Atlanta? Is it going to be in Carlstead, New Jersey? It's going to be in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and these dates of February to May, and it's going to be here and there and this and that and over here. We don't know what to fully believe, and hopefully people get pictures and stuff like there too, and hopefully you get to see photos, because Denai Guerrera posted some stuff, and hopefully, because they want to keep our interest, right? So I think they have to give us a little tease and behind the scenes and a little photo and a little tease and kind of keep us interested in it. And I know a lot of people are saying, I'm not going to watch, and I don't care about this, and I don't care about that too. But I am, because I like Michonne, I like Rick, I want to see where it ends. And that's the bigger thing for me. Negan and Maggie, all right, whatever. Daryl and France, all right, whatever. Great, okay, whatever. But the Michonne, Rick stuff is where it's at. Out of all three, I'm mostly excited for that. And that's the big one that I want to see done. I want them all to be done well, and I want them to be rewarding, and I want them to be exciting, and I want there to be payoff, and I want them to be story-driven and want to make sense. But the Rick and Michonne one, to me, really needs to hit the home run. Daryl and France needs to make sense, and the same thing with Negan and Maggie, but not so much as the Rick and Michonne one, because there's so much behind that, and they went away, and this, and we didn't really get. We've been waiting to see them for a while now. Thomas Bartlett, with the introduction of The Last of Us show and the likelihood of the show having 2 series, do you think we will get even more series beyond 2023? So, Tom, that's a great question. I don't know what the future holds for anything. The Last of Us, I hopefully gets, multiple seasons, multiple video games in the series, and hopefully it's rewarding and exciting and awesome, and it's designed to, have live action stuff from it. As for, Walking Dead, I don't know. There's been no talk after 2023, which is fine. Let's worry about 2023 first, right? There's been something about Maggie and Negan being greenlit for a second season, which I would assume would be 2024. The Rick and Michonne one, we're not sure if it's going to be 2 seasons or this or how many episodes or what's going to be there. The Daryl show, I don't know what that means. Tales of the Walking Dead, we don't know if that's a flop or if that's going to happen again or what. And then Fear the Walking Dead, we don't even know. We haven't really seen anything to do with Fear the Walking Dead, besides season 8 and where it goes from there too. So Constipated Sin City said Robert Kirkman said a lot of different things. He was trolling a lot of different ways, and I haven't seen him talk at all since the lawsuit stuff. With stuff that happened with AMC and whatever. And I haven't, before he would be doing interviews and doing conventions and going here and he would talk about stuff. It just wouldn't be anything talking about any Walking Dead related stuff for quite some time now. I mean, it's just crazy. And that's crazy. That's a shame. That's a shame. Jonathan Wilder, do you think RDR and RDR2 will have a TV series like The Last of Us is doing? I don't know if Red Dead Redemption could be a pretty cool thing if they did it right, but the Western thing is kind of hot right now with Taylor Sheridan stuff, but we'll have to see. Like, I don't know, because if you think about it too, there's like so much material out there for streaming, right? So you have, I was laughing at it the other day of Paramount Plus and Disney Plus and Hulu Plus and AMC Plus and this Plus and that Plus and Plus Plus and Plus 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 and this Plus and that Plus and over here Plus and don't forget about this Plus. So there's like a million streaming services besides Netflix and everything on there as well, Amazon. So they need content. You need stuff that is just on your platform, like Tulsa King or Mayor of Kingstown or 1923 or 1883 and all this other stuff. So you need stuff to draw you to your Plus services. And I don't know if the plan is to have content, and I'm sure it would be, right? Like, so if you have a show that is only on Netflix or only on Amazon or only on Paramount Plus, the only way to watch it is to have that. But then if you if you have all these things, you got to buy all these different services. Like, I got to have Amazon and Netflix and Hulu and Apple TV and this and that. And you're like, man, I got a million streaming services now, which is like kind of crazy. Like, if enough, because you have to have internet. And internet is like 50, 60, 70, 80 bucks if you get the different, bandwidths. So if you have 80 bucks for internet and you got $80 in streaming services, you're 160 bucks a month. That's a lot. And you easily could if you got Netflix, Amazon, Disney. And what's the other ones that you would have to have, right? So you got to have like Netflix. If you're an Amazon person, you probably have Amazon Prime, so it works. And then what after that? Paramount Plus? Like, what's the streaming services that you would have to have after that? And, these Disney Plus, this stuff's not cheap. So, Wilson Q&A, with no further source material to work from, are you worried the spin-off series for The Walking Dead could end up being as bad as Fear the Walking Dead or like World Beyond? I wouldn't say I'm worried about it but I get your point, Wilson. I don't think I'm like, we're not scared or, oh my God, I'm so worried that the Walking Dead universe is going to suck. Like, no, I got bigger problems to worry about. We all have bigger problems to worry about, But I am concerned about it, I think, is the way that it could suck. Like Fear the Walking Dead was exactly the way they were like, we're going to do our own thing. We want to have no connection with The Walking Dead. And yeah, there you go. So Fear the Walking Dead, to me, is trash for majority of the seasons. They have their moments. They have their good seasons. But overall, it's just a waste of time. The writing is garbage. The connections were not there, and then they were there, and they were forced because they had to be forced. They kill characters off, then bring it back and do this, and they don't want certain characters to leave, but how do we write it? And in a way, we have too many characters and too much story and too much this and too many people left alive. Stuff contradicts itself, doesn't make sense. The continuity of stuff is laughable. The World Beyond had potential to be amazing. It was like Fear the Walking Dead. Clean slate. Do whatever you want. Instead, we got Hope, Iris, Elton, Silas. Jadis came back around. The Dr. Bennett stuff and whatever. And it was okay. But it wasn't 20 good episodes good. It was probably like 8 good episodes, if that. And then they answer some questions, and they bring in Huck and Felix and this and that. And then they have some connections with the Walking Dead universe. But it just wasn't enough to draw you in and be like, well, that's pretty good. But I see your point. I mean, I do think that the only thing that the new shows have is that they have characters that we know and love, right? There's some character there. Do you like Daryl? Do you like Negan? Do you like Maggie? Do you like Rick? Do you like Michonne? There's enough characters there in some sort of the spinoff that you're like, oh, I'm excited to see so-and-so back. Or I love Daryl. Whatever Daryl's in, I'm going to watch. Or Negan and so forth there too. That's the only thing that's pretty different is that we have characters from the original series that's going to be there too. So I think, and I have faith that they can continue on with the story of those characters instead of writing fresh from that. So it's a different thing too. But I get your point about the source material being different. Jonathan Wilder, how's Morgan doing in Fear? P.S. I don't watch Fear, just really miss Morgan. Morgan's doing well. He's carrying a lot of the story. He wasn't doing well in a season where he got shot, but then he was patched up and he was good and he was fine. And Morgan's always fighting the idea of being a good guy. He doesn't want to be a bad guy. He doesn't want to be a good guy. And all life is precious. And then he's killing people and not killing people and killing everybody and then saving everybody. So he's been all over the place, which is one way to write the character. But Morgan is very much alive, and I want to see Morgan in the reunion with Rick. I want to see Rick reunite with Morgan. I want to see Rick meet as many people as he can before he's done in the series. When it's Andrew Lincoln's last time on the show, in the series, in the universe, I want to see him be around as many people as possible. Tim, Q&A Bri, with no new Dead shows on now, have you been liking any of the Sheridan shows? Yeah, Tim, I like Yellowstone. I'm excited for Mayor of Kingstown, which comes next Sunday. 1883, we watched a while ago. My wife and I, we still have to get caught up on 1923, which it's okay. 1923, I have to say, is one of the weaker shows right now. It's just not, it's all over the place for me. It's like, okay, we see the area here with Harrison Ford and the Duttons there, and then we're going to Africa with that guy, and then we're here with the Native American girl with the whole religious school thing. It's just kind of jumping around a little too much, where I'm like, let's focus in on the characters a little bit better and get the story driven there too. And it's just a little much, and it's awkward to watch the Native American girl with the religious people in the school. Like, it's just tough what she's going through. And I know it's for the story and everything, but it's like, man, I feel it's just a little much at times too. But I like all the Taylor Sheridan stuff right now. And then Tulsa King, of course, obviously was a really good series of. It's 9 episodes. It's a weird episode count, but I like it. How about you, Tim? Are you enjoying the Taylor Sheridan shows? There's plenty of them, and hopefully you've watched all of them, if not some of them. But yeah, if you maybe let me know, Tim, what do you think? But Wilson says Strand should have died seasons ago. And that's probably the biggest problem I have, is like so many characters have lived on. Like Fear the Walking Dead was the show where they should have killed off more characters, in my opinion. And they had characters that I liked. I liked Daniel. I liked Nick. Alicia was okay. Madison, I've not liked Madison ever. Chris was terrible. Travis was a wuss. And then he got balls, and then they killed him off. And then it's like, then what? Luciana was good, and then they turned her into this weird character. They just haven't done things to characters that make them good and bad. And then Strand had some redeeming moments, and then this stupid thing with the tower, and it's just like all over the place. Like, what am I doing here? Just, man. And like John Dorie, John Dorie was awesome, but he's very short-lived in the series. You know, he came around, and then boom, well, taken out. Exactly. And then Rob Casey says, I'll never forgive Charlie for killing Nick. And then Charlie's been around for like ever. Like, we're supposed to like Charlie? We're supposed to feel bad for Charlie? Like, Charlie killed Nick. Charlie was a good character. I mean, Nick was a good character. And he was just, boop, killed off. And then we're supposed to like Charlie? No. Daniel was a cool character and did some stuff. And then they're writing him into dementia, not sure what to believe and what it is there too. And, you know, the John Dories have probably been the best characters in the series. And they're there short-lived, like very short-lived. Like John Dorie Jr., John Dorie Sr., I like both of them characters. And it's a shame because I would have loved to have seen that type of character early on as like the main type of characters, or one of the main characters. It would have been really good for the show. Instead, they went the dysfunctional family route with the drug addict son and the crazy stuff there, where it's like a zombie apocalypse is already hard enough to survive, to find food, water, shelter, safety, security, people, the right people. Then you're going to have the dysfunctional family with the dad, with the mom, the druggy son, the bratty daughter, the, you know, son, the like a stepdad type of thing. And then you bring stuff in, and it's like already enough, you know. Then you have the military, and it's just like so much stuff added into it, you know. But then they rebooted it in season 4, and you get Althea, John, June, and Morgan, which is good. And now, if that was like the show, and you get rid of the Clarks, it would have been good. And then like Strand's a good guy, bad guy, anti-hero, not sure what to make of him, double cross them, not, you know, like, I don't know. It's just all over the place with it. And I hope I hope they've learned their lesson with Fear the Walking Dead, what never to do. Because World Beyond didn't really have all that. Yeah, the writing wasn't that great, and you had the family dynamic with the, you know, the Bennetts and stuff and whatever. It was okay. But it wasn't like Fear the Walking Dead. Like, it wasn't that big of a waste of time. There was at least the CRM angle where they kind of covered some stuff, and it was good. But I don't think the other spinoffs, like Maggie and Negan, they can carry their own show. Daryl can definitely carry his own show. And then Rick and Michonne, of course, can carry their own show too. And I think they will. I think the writing will be better, the story will be better, then all that stuff will just be better too. S Cobra Commander says, what type of spinoff would you like to see? I would like to see just the story be... I really want to see CRM. I want to see more CRM and the ongoings with that, especially how it's connected with Rick and Michonne, and just how it would have been great to have our group connected with them in bigger ways, besides Jadis and Negan going to be captured and given to them, and Father Gabriel. Like, there was very minimal connections with that. And I would have loved to seen things with that more. I would have loved to see that. I still would love to see the show. Like, I just picture the scene where a CRM lieutenant or Civic Republic person meets with Carol, who Carol has to meet because of Lance. And Mercer knows these people. And Ezekiel, who's running the Commonwealth now, has to meet them now because he's, you know, the governor of there. So it would have been cool to see Ezekiel, Mercer, and Carol meet with people from the CRM to see that stuff goes haywire, and the spinoff is the Commonwealth versus the CRM. The final spinoff or show or movies or whatever is the CRM versus the Commonwealth. The CRM is defeated, or the bad people of the CRM are defeated. The Civic Republic says these people don't speak for us, and that is how the true ending is. The Civic Republic is the way it ends, with the good people in power, not Major General Beale, who we found out was terrible in pulling the strings, and the rest of the people that have been bad there too. I would love to see that. I would love to see certain things. And then you have little things across the way where you see Morgan and Rick reunited. We see Negan reunited with Rick and Dwight and this and Sherry and all this stuff, and Negan's a different person. And, it's just kind of a way that is rewarding. Everything comes full circle and comes around again, and it would be pretty awesome. But what would you want to see, guys? What would you want to see in future spinoffs? What would you want to see in ways like that too? There's enough characters left in The Walking Dead. Thank you, Diana. I've always had ideas, and a lot of you guys, and myself included, I think we've had like good ideas for the Walking Dead universe, right? And I remember thinking about the whole thing with Winnie, or the whole thing with Eric. Like, I still stand by Eric should have went away, and he was skinned by the Whispers, and the person puts the face on there, and it's Eric. And it looks a lot like Eric. And then Aaron sees him, freaks out, and then is kind of stabbed by the Whispers. And that's the introduction of the Whispers. Would have been an awesome introduction. But it didn't happen. And none of those things were there too. And on my mind, it works perfectly. But logistic-wise, writing-wise, whatever, I don't know. It's just one of those crazy, crazy things. But Jonathan Wilder, Q&A, is there anyone in Fear you wish to see meet Negan besides Morgan, of course? Well, like Carol said, it would be really cool to see Dwight, Sherry, and Negan reunite in a way that's there too. And Negan just is a different person, and we know that. But Dwight and Sherry and everything, it would be that way too. But like, I don't know. Like, I don't need to see Strand or Madison or Daniel or Althea meet Negan. Like, I don't know whether it would probably be the Whitey boy in there too. But how about you guys? What would you want to see there in the spinoffs on there too? Woody writes Shane. Shane's a good one. I would like to see more Shane too. Speaking of Shane, if you guys haven't seen it yet, it's called Real Ones. Let me write it on there too. So Real Ones with John Bernthal on YouTube. And he's interviewed like a bunch of people. And it's pretty awesome. And I've seen 2 different interviews with Walking Dead cast. He interviewed Sarah Wayne Callies, which they talk about The Walking Dead and Frank Darabont and all this other stuff too, which was pretty cool. And then recently, there's some clips of Norman Reedus talking with John Bernthal. And for those who know, John Bernthal played Shane on The Walking Dead. And I got a chance to meet John Bernthal on a Walker Stalker cruise, and it was awesome. He's a regular dude, and he always tells this story. Like, there was a thing on Joe Rogan that he told the story about The Walking Dead saved his life. That he was in a bad spot before he got Walking Dead, and he was in California, and there was these kids picking on older people, and he went over to them, and there's something with his dog and this and that, and John ended up punching the guy in the face and knocking him out standing up, and as the guy fell over, he hit his head on the concrete or pavement or something, and John was arrested and went to jail. And the police officers said that John, he's in trouble if the guy doesn't wake up, because he would have died. And then John would have been, in trouble for, I guess involuntary manslaughter or whatever when they got into a fight. And he talks about that as right around the time when he was, struggling in life. And then he got The Walking Dead, and then, filmed the 2 seasons of that. And then, the rest is history. But it's a story that I've heard before him tell, and it's just crazy to think where you've seen where this guy, and he seemed like a regular guy that was, this, and, we see him as Shane on The Walking Dead. And he's been in other shows and movies and everything else since then. But he's a regular dude, and it's funny, was it John? That if you know anything about John Bernthal, his uncle or uncle-in-law is I'm blanking on the wrestler now, because his wife is the niece of I'm blanking on his name. the Olympic wrestler, the bald guy, the Olympic wrestler is his uncle-in-law, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome. Please let me know in the comments who the guy's name is. I'm blanking on it, so I had a brain fart in there too. But it's just cool to see that. And the other thing, Kurt Angle, thank you, John. I'm like, Kurt Angle, I can't go. And you find that out, and you're like, man, that's awesome. And he had him on Real Ones with John Bernthal. And he's talking about it there too. And the other thing they talk about is Norman Reedus and Howard Stern. And that, they love Howard Stern, and they were watching him every morning, going to, the set and everything, and they would talk about Howard and how he was talking, blah, blah, blah. And, Norman Reedus loves Howard Stern, and he wants to be on a show, blah, blah, blah. And that Howard Stern has never asked him to be on, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan was on there, and blah, blah, blah. And John Bernthal talks about him being in the studio and being there, and that Howard Stern is a huge Walking Dead fan, and that he doesn't understand why he hasn't had him on the show yet, and that the only thing he could think about is there was this one time there was like a movie premiere or something, and Norman Reedus was sitting next to Howard Stern's wife, and they were talking about cats or something for like a couple minutes, and then the movie started, and that was it. And he doesn't know why Howard Stern hasn't had him on the show. And I had it in the video recently that I made, and I was like, I hope Howard Stern would address it, because it would be like interesting, and ultimately, hopefully, Howard would have Norman Reedus on the show, and it would be kind of cool to see. It's always cool to see, Howard has good guests, and he has a great show and all that stuff too. And I remember Jeffrey Dean Morgan being on there, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan has like this huge beard, and they're talking and stuff, and it was pretty cool. So. Yeah, guys, so I'll go for about another minute or so. I did the other live stream for like 10 minutes, and then there was a whole big mess on there as well. but yeah, I watch him stuff, Rob. I watch his stuff on YouTube, when he's got clips and stuff on there too, which is always cool to see. But yeah, guys, so this week, like I said, so next Sunday, I'll be on for the live stream. Hopefully the chat will be working good. But we have to talk about The Last of Us. Well, The Last of Us probably comes on at night. So then the following week, we'll talk about the first episode. But definitely check it out, because I want to talk about The Last of Us. Mayor of Kingstown premieres back there on the 15th. So next week, two good shows, Mayor of Kingstown and The Last of Us. Definitely check out Paramount Plus, and try the code 1923 if you get a free week or free month or free something on there. I know there was something on there, because when we watched Yellowstone, the mid-season, they talked about the free trial of something. And I think the code was 1923 was the code, because that's the show that's on there. And if you can check out Paramount Plus for free, definitely recommend it to watch as many things as you can there. So, all right, guys, let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. And sorry for the technical difficulties, the first stream. But I'll be back next Sunday. And, yeah, guys, so I'll be back talking about a bunch of different shows and a bunch of things on there, too. So Wilson says Vikings Valhalla returns this week. I've not seen that. I watched one episode of the first Vikings series. It seemed pretty interesting, and I know people love Vikings. So I might have to check that out, too. And last thing, S-Cobra Commander, do you think The Rise of the Governor may be something they are considering? I hope so. That would be pretty cool, like Tales of the Walking Dead type of thing, or a separate small series. But I don't know if they want to go back and talk about that much stuff with The Walking Dead anymore. But all right, guys, remember, guys, with hard work, dedication, belief, and sacrifice, you can truly achieve your goals. Believe in yourself. You can do it. Keep working hard. I'll be back next Sunday to talk about The Last of Us, Mayor of Kingstown, a bunch of other stuff, and hopefully some Walking Dead news. So stay in the know by subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, you're probably a subscriber if you're watching this. But I'll be back next Sunday, guys, and see you.